We are going to talk about the poll numbers and what's happening in the election. Right now, it appears to be a dead heat between both presidential candidates. Just the latest poll we showed that Vice President Harris is up slightly in Pennsylvania. Donald Trump up slightly in Arizona. Swing states are all up for grabs, and we may not have election results for some time with the way that ballots have to be counted. So in watching all of these things happen, I want you to hear some of this. This is Steve Portnoy, ABC News, about how close this race really is.
The latest ABC News Ipsos poll shows a statistically tied race nationally, with Kamala Harris ahead of Donald Trump among likely voters by 2 points, 50 to 48%. In the battleground states, it's tied at 49% apiece. Voters trust Trump more than Harris to handle the economy, and among those who say the economy is getting worse, and most do, 3/4 of them say they prefer Harris. But when it comes to which candidate is looking out for the middle class, more voters trust Harris than Trump.
So that is, again, the class warfare conversation of which person's going to look out for the other people, and that is a messaging thing from both parties. Rick Klein, ABC, talking about the warning signs for the Harris campaign.
The troubling sign in this poll and in other polls is that Harris has lost ground among men, particularly men of color. So that's where she needs to kind of stop the bleeding and turn things around. You're going to see a big focus in that direction over these last 3 weeks. It becomes a motivating tool and just a question of who can get their voters out, and appealing to your core base voters is the name of this game.
And the other thing that didn't help this weekend was the complete failure by Tim Walz to show himself to be a hunter. Now, this is a guy that talks about his military career and all the years he spent in the United States military, and he couldn't load a shotgun. It was an embarrassment of a video. But this is, and it's not because it was, both sides of the aisle have done this. Mitt Romney has done it. John Kerry famously did it in 2004. It was one of the most... I always thought John Kerry was one of the most embarrassing candidates. Doesn't matter which party you were in. The guy was an embarrassment of a candidate. He was a walking contradiction. And John Kerry went to Ohio during the 2004 election cycle to prove what a regular guy he was. Just be yourself. Nobody cares that you are an elitist if you just embrace it. Really, we don't. We don't care. We like people that are just themselves. If you are very, very wealthy, just be very, very wealthy. Nobody cares. But he went to Ohio, and he walked into I think it was a sporting goods store. And you remember John Kerry. He's he talks in a way that he should be in a Grey Poupon commercial. That's the way he speaks, and that's fine. But he went in, and he embarrassingly walked up to the counter with the cameras on, and I think I'm getting the question right. And he says, "Is this where I can get me a hunting license?" If you didn't, it was the most, a hunting license. "Is this where I can get me a hunting license?" is what he said. It was an embarrassment. And then I think he went goose hunting in Ohio. It was embarrassing. Well, Tim Walz wanted to prove what a hunter he was, and so he took his $2,100 shotgun, and he couldn't load it. He couldn't get it to work, couldn't get it to operate. And it just was, I want you to, here it is. Here's a little bit of the governor hunting.
Yeah. That's my theory. And it never fits quite right. Never fits quite right. It's not quite right. How do you give it back?
Governor, what kind of gun is it?
This is a Beretta A400. I bought it when I was shooting a lot of trap, because it has a kind of their patented thing, a kickoff. So when you get old, it doesn't hurt your shoulder as much.
Well, it doesn't hurt your shoulder if you can't shoot it. Anyway, my point is that when both sides have done it, Mitt Romney did the same thing. Mitt Romney's not a hunter. I don't think he is anyway. Mitt Romney is not a middle-class, working-class guy. I am. If I started dressing in suits, if I started getting tailored suits and slicking back what's left of my hair, and I started trying to pretend like I was this pretentious, elitist guy, people would read right through me. I am a working-class guy. It doesn't matter how much money I'll ever make in my entire life. That's who I am. And you just can't be anything other than who you are. There are going to be people that love you, and there are going to be people that don't love you so much and don't like you at all. But you got to be yourself. And when you're going to step out and say to this group of people, I would never walk in to a room full of college graduates and people with master's degrees and barons of business and years of refined upbringing. Would I ever walk into that room and pretend to be one of them? They would have to embrace who I am. And when you walk into that room and you pretend to be something you're not, you're always in danger. I don't care which political party it is. I really don't. You know, if Donald Trump showed up somewhere, and the other thing that gets me, and both parties do it, it used to drive me crazy. They would have, they'd be in blue jeans, a collared button-down, dress shirt tucked into their jeans, brown loafers, and their sleeves rolled up 2 times. 2 times, always twice. And that was the common, I'm out, relax, no tie, shirt unbuttoned, at least one button undone. And this is the kind of thing that turns people off. Just be who you are. The most believable people, the ones that resonate, are the ones that are just who they are. They may not be like you, but they resonate because they're being honest about who they are. And this happens on both sides of the aisle. And I know I'm going to get messages from people because I called out Tim Walz that it's now going to be other people on the other. Sure, fine, do it. You're just making my point. It's what turns people off. And more than anything else, when we look at these things, I wonder what's going to be the real decider in this. There are a bunch of states they say we may not have election results in. And then one more thing is, actually 2 things. I'm going to start with Meghan McCain. I have been pushing back against the left continuously saying John McCain, invoking the name of John McCain. Now, when Jimmy McCain endorsed, I understand why anybody in the McCain family would say, I'm not voting for Donald Trump. I think it was I think it was the single biggest political mistake that Donald Trump made was his continuing berating of John McCain even after he died. I just think it was a big mistake. I would guess behind the scenes he regrets it. And I understand why people in the McCain family are siding with anybody that's not Donald Trump. I get it. But I've been saying I don't believe that John McCain would have voted for Vice President Harris. I just don't believe he would. When people say that McCain put country first and he put country over party, he did. And there's nothing about those policies. Well, Meghan McCain torches. She is upset that Vice President Harris keeps invoking her father's name. She said, everybody does it on both sides. I'm not thrilled with this because I just find that maybe it did happen. To me, it doesn't sound like him. Democrats really want to turn my dad into a progressive liberal that 6 years after his death, he's now just the most liberal progressive that's ever existed when he's one of the most conservative senators in modern American history. And she's 100% right. One last thing I'll mention. I think this should backfire miserably on the campaign. Vice President Harris releasing medical records and talking about Donald Trump. If I were the Trump campaign immediately, I mean today, I would be saying, first of all, you're gonna release a medical record and demand mine. How about your boss? When Joe Biden releases his cognitive tests and his medical records, then we'll talk about mine because he's supposed to be running the country right now. And I'd let it be from there.
Thanks for watching the Mike Broomhead Show. Catch up on Amazing Arizonans, a KTAR News podcast, and click the button in the middle to subscribe.